Okay, so we're going to talk about starting seeds today in a couple different ways on how you can start seeds. You're going to need some soil, which I have here in this little bucket. This is standard potting soil. I would recommend using a professional mix so it doesn't compact too much and suffocate the seeds when you're trying to get them started. So we'll be using that, these trays, and the seeds that were picked from the poll on our Facebook page. We're going to start with Oregon sugar pod peas. They're all certified organic and provided by Nature's Crossroads. You want to look at the back of the package on any seed pack that you buy. It gives you a lot of good information about how long it'll take to germinate, so you know how long it'll be to getting little sprouts, which are super exciting to watch, and then how long it's going to take you to be able to harvest anything from the plant. So what I'm going to show you right now is first doing a somewhat direct sow method. So we're going to put soil directly into this and then plant the seeds and then water them. Yeah. You sprinkle it in. You don't want to put it in quite to the top because you still got to add your seeds and add more soil over it. So you just pat it down lightly, not firmly, because you want air to be able to circulate in the soil. You're going to grab your seeds. In this case, we're going to do peas. Peas or beans are a great seed to start with if you haven't started seeds before, because they germinate fast, they take very little effort and give a lot of reward, and they're actually really cute little pods that come up. So especially if you have kids, it's a great thing because they see progress super fast. If you're starting in dirt, I recommend putting 2 seeds for something big like this per pocket. That way, if they don't all germinate, you at least get usually 1 per spot. And then after you have your seeds in, we're going to sprinkle dirt right on top. And after you have that pressed down, you're going to want to water it regularly. So for tiny seeds like broccolis and lettuce, these are a little hard to see because they're so tiny. This is broccoli. I tend not to germinate these in paper towels. I tend to just put them as a direct sow in soil. The paper towels work well for starting larger seeds, or if you're doing sprouts. Broccoli does great as sprouts, but if you're going to grow broccoli as a plant, you really want to put it directly in the soil or directly in your tower to start. So I'm going to put 2 or 3 seeds per pocket in this. We have 9 pockets. To see how they germinate. Once they germinate, we'll thin them out to which is the best looking seedling that's going to produce the best. So you just sprinkle them on. Take a few little pieces of dirt, pinches of dirt, sprinkle them over the top. Pat it in. You don't have to be precise. Nature isn't precise, you don't have to be precise. Things work just fine. The last seed that we're going to be planting today, based on our poll, is going to be lemon cucumbers. They take about 60 to 65 days for final harvest and about a week to 2 weeks to germinate. So it's similar to the other stuff that we're planting today. It's same as everything else. You put a seed in each pocket and then you sprinkle it with dirt. These markers are great. They're plastic markers. You can get them in any garden center, and they allow you to write on them and then wipe them off and reuse them. So I was using tons of popsicle sticks before, and I couldn't keep using them because they would get wet, they would rot, you couldn't read anything. These work great for that. So you mark it with whatever you're planting, and I mark it with the date that I planted it so that you have a counter for when your plants are going to be starting to germinate. In this case, we marked it with 7/31, so in a week to 2 weeks, we should see little starts coming up right out of these pots. So what I like about the garden tower is it allows me to experiment. There's very little effort on my part to plant anything in here. So if I see some seeds I want to play with, I can play with them. I start them from seed, get a little plant, put it in. If it does, great, great. If it doesn't, there's no problem with that. Like, there took no effort on my part to put a seed in a pocket. So the wonderful thing about doing stuff right now for the fall is there's a lot of stuff that you put in the garden tower that's meant for spring, summer harvest. And it doesn't do well in the rest of the summer or the fall. So we're starting seeds for things that would be fall harvest. So for instance, I have this, probably a little hard to see from my butterfly bush, my Buddleia there, but I have this little tom thumb pea. It did well through the spring and the summer, but it's gonna be done here in a week or two. And so I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna replace it with something that I can harvest in the fall. And it easily allows me to pick and choose across the pockets and plant stuff that's purposeful and beneficial to my family for what we use in the fall. So we're gonna show you another way to start seeds for your fall planting. If you have old seeds, for instance, you have seeds that your grandmother gave you, friends or family gave you that have been sitting in the refrigerator, freezer for a while, old seeds, period. It's a good idea to try to germinate them before you spend the time to do things like this and put them in the potting soil and waste your potting soil and stuff for things that aren't going to germinate. Really, all you do is lay them in the paper towel, and then we're going to wet the paper towel down. You probably want to mark your paper towel or put something so you know which is which. Peas are kind of obvious to know what's in the paper towel, so you'll get that. And you keep that moist until you see them germinate. And once they germinate, and by germinate I mean they have a little green sprout coming out, you see that they're starting to grow, then you can transplant them into this. And that way you don't waste your time or energy on filling potting soil and pulling things out. You can just get them started in here. Once they know they're viable, you're going to plant them straight in there, and then they'll keep going until you're ready to put them in a garden tower. This is compost tea. So I took this compost tea from my garden towers because it has a lot of nutrients in it that are really great for starting seeds and giving all of the necessary vitamins and minerals to get them going. So for the paper towels, these are peas right here. We showed you those. These are broccoli, which I don't normally do in paper towels, but for the purposes of this, to see how everything works, why not try it? And then I have a couple lemon cucumbers on this one. So we're going to wet these down. That should be good. Separate them a little. Now I have them in these plastic containers because paper towel dries out pretty easily. And one of the best things about starting seeds for them is to have a consistent humidity and temperature. So right now it's middle of summer, end of summer. You don't need to do it inside. Things are warm enough outside, but I still tend to tent these, for lack of a better description of it, so it keeps the humidity and temperature controlled inside. When you do it in the actual soil, the soil does that for you, but the paper towels dry out fast. These are cheap plastic covers. They're 25 cents a piece at any major department store. A lot of times in the spring, you can find these on the free benches at recycling centers because people buy too many. And these came from the recycling center. For these little seeds, this is the lemon cucumber. All you do is give it a very gentle misting twice a day. You don't want to overwater them because then the seeds will mold and then they won't germinate. So you just do a nice spray in the morning and a nice spray in the evening, and they will sure to come alive and nothing flat. Okay, so one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is what you have at home available to start your own seeds. It doesn't have to be a complicated process. It doesn't have to require a lot of money. It's just a container, potting soil of some kind, and seeds. and a little bit of your time, love, and attention. That's all it takes. So don't be dissuaded by all of the big seed starting things that they have out there. You can spend as much money or as little money as you want to be able to grow your own. This works wonderfully for germinating seeds and costs you nothing because you're going to buy eggs anyway. So why not give it a try? So I showed you a few simple tips on how to get seeds started now in the middle of summer, believe it or not, for your fall harvest. And most people don't think you can do stuff in the middle of summer. So one of the benefits of doing that is being able to put them in the garden tower. It's a great time to be starting seeds. And it's simple, easy, and economical. And it's a best way to feed your family healthy, organically, and GMO-free for the rest of the year.